This is one word, two syllables. Ridiculous, right?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Unfiltered Truth. I'm your host, Phil Robinson. With me, my boy, Phil Jones. We're going to get into a Week 7 recap. How you doing, Phil?
Man, it's good to be back on the show. I've been out for a minute. Work has been crazy. How are my lovely folks doing?
Hey, they're all
Friday Eve.
Friday Eve. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We got Monday Night Football against Detroit coming up, but more importantly, we've got a special guest. We have the one, the only, Big Lincoln Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy, how are you today, sir?
What's up, Phil times 2? How you guys doing? Glad to be with you.
Hey, we are good. We are good. Let's get into it. First and foremost, I'm gonna throw a little curveball at you. So, how good is Michael Penix Jr.?
I think Michael Penix has an opportunity to once he gets on the next level, the college level. Not the college level, the pro level. I think he has an opportunity. Maybe you might be able to figure that out. Look, the jury is still out. Michael is good at the system and what he has at Washington, but you also remember the years that he had in Indiana and couldn't get off the snide. So I don't know if there's a very similar system that he would come into in the National Football League. I know he's got a strong arm. I know he's accurate, and I know offensive coordinators like him. I just wonder how the system is going to translate for him on the next level.
Okay, and next curveball, Cam Ward.
Okay, Wazoo, young man who's been coming into his own, more solid this year than he was last year with his decision-making skills. I think he still has a progression to do, but he will be a good one. He might be one of those Heisman hopefuls in his senior year.
Okay, bet. Cool. Well, then let's get into it. Week 7. What the hell happened to the Raiders?
Well, to put it mildly, they went out and got their asses kicked. That's the easiest way, the simplest way to say it. I mean, look, the fact is that on any given day, any given game day, anybody can be beaten. But if you choose not to show up collectively as a team, and that's why football is such a great sport to watch, it's a team effort. You'll have individual stands out, but it's a team effort that puts you over the top. The Bears against the Raiders had a more secure or stable foundation roster-wise. The Bears are building for the future. They've got their draft choices compiled for next year. I think they've got the top 2 draft choices. So they're looking for the future. This little setback that they had, starting the season off with 1 win until they saw the Raiders was just them trying to put it together. I thought they played well enough to beat Minnesota, but they didn't. And so when the Raiders faced them, they only had 1 win, but the Raiders didn't take them seriously and got their asses handed to them.
So is that what happens when they leave the West Coast time zone and go either the Central or the Eastern time and just don't show up at all on Sunday?
I know that stats have said that the Raiders don't necessarily travel well, but I don't believe that. I don't know if that's really a reason why they're losing. The fact is that in the past, and I think it's still the same this day, even though I don't travel with the team anymore, but we used to leave when we had to change time zones. We used to leave on Friday. And I think the Raiders did that to Chicago. So they left on Friday, had all day Saturday, which they usually have a little walkthrough if they get out and get a lather up. But they're in Chicago on Saturday. Sunday's the game, and then they fly back afterwards. So that's how it used to be. I believe the Raiders are leaving Saturday for Detroit for the Monday night game for Detroit. So I really don't put that much emphasis on that whole traveling thing being a problem because, the Raiders look bad at home before. So it's not like it's just traveling.
No doubt, no doubt. So we were talking backstage earlier about this offensive line because part of the main one of the major issues that we see is a lack of a run game. And while to me, when I saw Josh come back, he looked thicker, heavier, and probably not as quick as he was last year. And watching Zamir get through the holes kind of threw me off as to what exactly it is we were seeing. But there are also some deals with the run blocking.
I'm sorry. What I didn't understand the question. What was the question?
Right, that was a whole lot of garble that just got thrown out. Zone versus man blocking system. Why is it that it looks like they alternate between the two of them, and when they run man blocking, they incur more success than the zone?
Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing to point out is that teams playing the Raiders know that Josh Jacobs was the NFL rushing champion last year, so they
Yeah,
want to take that part of the game away. And if you
right.
want to sort of equate it to something that you've seen in the past, remember when Derrick Henry from the Titans was running over everybody? How committed
Yeah,
defenses were when they played the Titans to take the run away? It's the
yeah,
very same thing. Now, the difference is between last year and this year, to answer your question, one, they're not sold on the personnel. Illuminor and Van Roten, the right tackle and the right guard, who have been starting most of the games, are better zone blockers. Okay? The Thayer Munford, who's come in for Illuminor when he's been banged up, is a better man blocker. The problem ultimately happens when you have man blocking is you got to have a tight end at the point that can secure the edge or at least help you with the double teams. They don't have that. Okay. So when you talk about the double teams, you talk about a four-man front and you talk about the double teams, 9 times out of 10, the tight end is going to probably have to block the defensive end by himself, while the guard and tackle and man schemes
Right.
block down to backside linebacker, that type of thing. So what we've
Mhm.
seen teams do when they bring in Jakob Johnson, when they bring in Thayer Munford as the extra tight end, because you're not threatening to pass the ball to those players, they don't cover them. They're fixated on the backfield. They're fixated on number 8 in the backfield. So that automatically gives the defense a little bit of an advantage, even though you've got the people out there that you think that can help you. When they bring in Jakob Johnson, everyone knows, or not everyone, teams really assume the Raiders are going to run the football. They've done very little play action out of it, though they did do a couple times this season. I remember one pass to Jakob in particular where he dropped it, and that doesn't normally happen. But it's hard to get off the bench and off the snide when you've got people that take things away so quickly and you don't have a counter for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, no, that was in front because I've
Well,
watched.
I
I
would say this. I would say this, Phil. Here's the thing. It's going to be a long season. The Raiders have got to figure out a way to get Josh Jacobs going. So far, and what we've seen so far of the 7 games is that as soon as Jacobs gets the handoff, he's probably having to make a cut because there's somebody in the hole. They need to do a better job. The Raiders need to do a better job at blocking the box. The down linemen, the linebackers, the ones that are in the box. Let Jacobs worry about anything else, but they've got to have better communication at the point because up until now they have not done a consistent job like they did last year. I mean, one of the excerpts that you ran off in your opening was Jacobs breaking away for that run against Seattle and winning overtime, the walk off the run, a touchdown. The reason why that happened, and that's a very simple play. That's a man blocking play. That's what we call ISO blast, where the
right,
fullback
yeah,
takes the middle linebacker, the tight end or someone comes in and digs out the extra linebacker or the safety that they had, and then it becomes 1-on-1 with the tailback and the safety. He's the only unblocked guy that he should face. And
Wow.
that safety for Seattle came in, took a bad angle, and that's why Josh Jacobs was off to the house.
no, for sure, for sure. And
Well, let me
as
ask
part,
you this.
go ahead, Jones.
Well, let me ask you this, Link. You think the Raiders should just stick to man blocking? Just
They
run
don't
with
have the
that to the
personnel to take the man blocking. Van Roten's still playing very high as a guard. He's like 6'7", but he goes most of the time. He goes from an up stance. I'm not privy to the coaching room. If I was in there, I would tell Van Roten to get his ass down, get in a 3-point stance, because you're taking on smaller guys that are heavier, have a
Yeah.
low center of gravity. In order to block them, move them, you need to get lower than them because low man wins. But I haven't seen that out of him. I haven't seen that change out of him on a consistent basis. I think more times than not, when people and when players have the sort of they get confused or ponder between going up or down. More times than not, you're doing what's comfortable, which is an up stance, rather than getting down. However, the coach needs to come and tell you, you know what, you need to get your ass down because you're too high, being pushed back. The Raiders aren't winning the line of scrimmage in the run game. That's why the run game has been unsuccessful to this point. That's why they're dead last in rushing the football. Until they control the line of scrimmage in the front seven, I don't care if you do it by zone or man blocking, they're not going to have success running the football.
Cause I was gonna suggest, I was like, hey, maybe you going to move what was it, Jermaine inside, and then you going and put Thad Mumford at the right tackle spot.
I think that might be the move. The only problem they're realizing if one or both of those guys get hurt by doing that, you don't have a backup.
Right.
Because you're only suiting up 7 linemen for the game.
And how much better is Greg Van Roten than Jordan Meredith?
Meredith doesn't have the experience Van Roten does. Okay, so because Van Roten's been in the league a little bit longer, understands a little bit out of it. And here's the thing: Van Roten had a pretty good training camp. The practices I saw in the preseason games in which I saw him play a little bit of sparing time, I thought he did pretty well. I thought he'd be a solid pickup. But the right side has been the thorn in the Raiders' side for years now, since I've been doing commentating, all the way back to 2015. They haven't been able to get the right side right.
Nope. That is a cold hard fact right there.
Now, I personally thought that they had a right guard set, and that was the position that Dylan Parham played in college and played well for us last year. And when they moved him over to replace Bars, Bars being gone, and used Van Roten, I felt like that was kind of one of those things that just kind of threw off the continuity of the line, even though he was still technically one of those pieces that was here from last year.
Well, I mean, yes and no. The problem is, the thing is about offensive line, they need as many snaps together. When you're interchanging parts, you're not getting that consistent flow. There's a lot of nonverbal communication that offensive linemen have that we share, that we do, and we get that by practicing next to the guy, playing with the guy, understanding in the heat of battle what's going to happen. And when you're interchanging guys, you don't always have that. But still, I think I'm very simplistic when it comes to this, when it comes to communication. I don't care if you walk up to the line of scrimmage like, I got him, you got him, you got him. However it goes, you need to make sure they get blocked, because when Jacobs kicks the football and he's having to make a cut in the backfield, he's not going to go far. Now the defense kind of corrals on him. So he has to have a straight lane through the hole in order for it to be successful. The Raiders have seen very few success of that this year.
That is a true fact.
So now we're moving into the more interesting topics, and hopefully I'll take whatever you got for us. I don't know if you can shed light on the situation. How hard is it to get along with Hunter Renfrow?
Get along with Hunter Renfrow? It's not hard to me, but I'm not the coach. I'm not in there every time around him. I think what we've seen it with Darren Waller, we saw it with Derek Carr, and it might very well be with Hunter Renfrow, that somehow these guys have gotten Josh McDaniels' doghouse, and don't know why. I mean, there's nothing that we heard. Look, since COVID, guys, a lot of things have changed with the team dynamics. Once upon a time, I used to have open access as a former player to the locker room, stuff like that. It's no longer the case. It's changed. It's different. And I respect it. It's different regimes. Everybody's different. So it is what it is. But not traveling with these guys like I used to be able to do back in the day before COVID, and not seeing these guys on more of a one-on-one basis or being around them, it's hard to pick up on the intricacies and the delicacies that go on in the locker room, if that makes sense. So it's one of those things where I can sit here and say that I don't know if Hunter Renfrow is going to be on the team after Tuesday, because I think the trading block is coming up on Monday. But to this day, he's been virtually a no-show, and it confuses me because this offense works better with a good slot receiver or a good tight end. Just look at the days in New England. That's what happened, and that's what works.
And that's kind of been one of the head scratching things, because a lot of what I anticipated working for this particular team has just been things that they either don't try or can't seem to execute. Now we saw Michael Mayer get loose in the passing game. They went to Austin Hooper a little bit more with Brian Hoyer, but I can't understand for the life of me that when you see Jimmy under center, he's either throwing to Devontae or he's throwing to Jacoby, or throwing a 5-yard heater to Josh Jacobs for an interception.
Well, I will say this: the thing that has happened so far is that the Raiders are extremely predictable, and
Yes.
not necessarily elaborate in their passing attack. I mean, Devontae Adams either runs a slant, a back shoulder fade, or a deep dig route. Okay, those are the three routes that we've seen him run since he's been in town in the Raiders. Really haven't seen a lot of crossing routes. But I think the intricacy of trying to open up the offense comes back to the problems that the offensive line is having. The offensive line is not stable. So you don't have a lot of time to back up and throw the ball. And more importantly, if you're Garoppolo, you're probably wanting to get the ball out of your hands. He's already taken some hellacious shots in these first 7 games and has been banged up. And we know that he's fragile. So there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to look downfield unless you set them up with play action. And the times that they've had to been able to set it up with play action, they've had some success running the football. So the defense kind of comes down the line to try to take Jacobs out of it, and then you have those shots over the top.
What about trying to move the launching point? Maybe get him moving to his right or move to his left. Maybe shrink it down to some half field reads and run levels or something of that nature. Like you said, it's way too predictable, and we could throw out any number of different play types, scenarios, formations, and all of that good stuff. But between the lack of going deep, stretching the defense and forcing them to cover the entire length of the field, how do you fix this?
Well, the thing is that you have to understand what the teams are doing to you, and I believe that McDaniels and his staff realize what they're doing, and you have to find a way to coach it up during the week to be better, to be more active. Look, every team we played so far has walked somebody down in the box when they thought it was a run. Every single team. So there's got to be a receiver or somebody that digs that safety out or digs that extra defender out. When we play Kansas City, they're going to have 3 linebackers. When we bring out a heavy formation, they're going to have 3 linebackers. That's what they did in the second half of the game last year, which negated all the success the Raiders were having to that point, and they were able to climb back in the game at Kansas City and beat the Raiders. That's the reason for it. So you need to see adjustments on the offensive side, and we just haven't seen them carry weight. I think the problems that present themselves compound issues when you don't have a line. As you guys know, and you will follow enough football, you don't have an offensive line, you can't do anything.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to run. You're not going to be able to pass. So we want to talk about open up the passing game, moving the striking point. You've got to have guys that can secure the edge, control the edge, like tight ends and stuff like that, and backs. I think Jacobs can do it. The list is still out for Mayer and Hooper. If they can do it, secure the edge to sit that up. But also, you think about that, you're taking away a would-be intended receiver that can go out and pass for him.
Yeah, that is the downside to max protection. Well, so fellow Husky, you Marcus Peters, what is he doing out there?
Well, I think Marcus Peters really denounced his Washington affiliation a long time ago. But it's to answer your question, he's not doing much, and that's the problem. He's not doing much. He's missed a couple of interceptions that were right in his breadbasket, and last week he missed a couple of tackles. He just seemed like he was uninspired, didn't want to be there, and that's what I'm talking about. I said earlier about the team game, the team concept. If one guy's not going to perform, then what you do, there's a number of offenses out there, not only in college and National Football League, which isolate everybody else. I mean, take care of everybody else, have a person for everyone else other than corners, because they feel that corners are some of the worst tacklers. And so far we've shown that with some of the guys that can't make tackles on the perimeter.
Yeah. Let me get your thoughts on Tyree Wilson right now. He's started off having the rust on him at the beginning of the season. I know that came from him being on the
Injured.
he was on the pup. Yeah, he was on the pup list and coming off that surgery. And then now you're looking at him. He finally recorded his first sack.
Well, look, here's what I'll say to be fair. I've never been a big proponent for the draft, mainly because the draft is a crapshoot. It really is. It's one of those things where if you get lucky and find that gem that you thought your scout scouted, and that person comes in and contributes right off the bat, that's a plus. But most rookies have to get acclimated to the speed of the National Football League. Okay.
Yeah.
Most rookies, when they come in, they're not necessarily expected to have a tremendous year. Yes, when you draft somebody in the top 10, you're expecting him to be a starter. You're not expecting him to sit on the sideline and hold a clipboard and yell things out to other players. You expect him to be a starter. But for Tyree's case, he's going up against the premier offensive lineman in the world. You think about it. He's going up against the left tackles. And he has to take on left tackles that are considered the best offensive linemen out there. That's one of the reasons why they are left tackles. These are not easy walks. These are not cupcakes. I don't know the level of competition that he had at Texas Tech, but I can tell you it's not seeing 17 games of left tackles in the National Football League. Does that make sense?
So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
My point is that he'll be fine in the future. You can't expect him to have a huge contribution because he still doesn't know the game. And really, coming off of that injury, they've been trying to work him back slow. There might be some mental blocks that he has to get over so he doesn't re-injure himself. Usually when you have a significant injury like that, your mind will play tricks on you. And it will say, you know what, we can't do that because the last time we did that, we might have hurt ourselves. Or last time we did that, it hurt. So your mind can be your biggest enemy, when in that situation. So Tyree, I think, is going to be fine. It's what you have to do with the other guys, the other notable names. Look, everybody wants their draft class to contribute right away. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you got to work these guys in. And even then it might take a little bit of time. And even then they might not get it. So there's no guarantee. Look at the Indianapolis Colts. They go out of their way to draft a quarterback. He's done for the year.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? It's instances like that. If you don't have the other pieces involved, there's only so much pressure that you can put on a rookie before they snap, because it is hard playing in the National Football League. I was there.
And I mean, I'm glad you said that right there, because there are so many fans and then so-called analysts that run around and say that, why would you take this guy, this pick, this, and this? I'm like, okay, you want to look for the long term. You want to look for a guy like, okay, he can do this later on. Yeah, he went through that injury, like you just said. And I to be honest, I feel that there are a lot of things with Tyree Wilson that people are not paying attention to right now. Everybody wants that instant result, like you was just saying. And I looked at Tyree Wilson the last 2 weeks. I'm like, the man's getting pressure to the quarterback, something that we needed from the outside. If they start using him a little bit more, probably move him inside to help with that interior pass rush, you're going to get a lot out of Tyree Wilson on the long run.
Yeah, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I think Tyree will be fine. I think, the Raiders took a chance. Obviously, drafting somebody who had a season-ending injury in college, but you saw the potential. Look, Tyree is long. He looks strong. Yep. And he looks like he can be a force. He looks like he can complement, Max on the other side. But yet, you're also talking about, just like Max had to move over a couple times to the left side, you're going up against the best of that offensive line. That's the reason why that guy is playing left tackle. And so, you're going to have to – Tyree's got to develop a second move, which I haven't seen yet. I've seen a primary, but I haven't seen a second move. Every good defensive end I've ever played against has had a second move. He's got to develop that. And he's got to develop a high-tempo motor like Max Crosby has on the other side. And I think that will come. But, let's face facts. The reason why the Raiders went after Tyree, other than the physical specimen that he is because you weren't getting production from the guy he replaced, Chandler Jones, who's no longer on the team. You see what I mean? So the Raiders have had bad luck with free agents over the past couple of years, quite a few years. Trent Brown, Chandler Jones have had bad luck. And the list can go on and on if I had all my papers in front of me, but I don't. But you talk about just like the draft, free agency is a crapshoot, because you could see a guy playing like gangbusters the year before, the year his contract is over, because he wants to get a new contract, take a chance on him, and he comes on your team and he wets himself. He's no good. And then you're scratching your head, look at all the damn money we just paid this guy. You see what I'm saying? So
Yep, I agree.
there are things like that. There are instances like that. I don't think Tyree's there, but I don't like you mentioned. I don't feel the need to put too much pressure on him because I think he'll be fine. It's just going to take time.
Why
No,
can't
that's
they get
true. Because
defensive
I
tackles?
give you a prime example right now. Cleveland Farrell. He's actually looked better.
Yeah.
He's actually looked better with the Niners.
Now, I thought Cleveland Farrell was a solid pick because he was one of those every down players, 1 through
Yeah.
3, which you don't really have these days. You've got edge rushers, you got pass rush specialists, all that other crap.
But he was your original DN.
Yeah, he was the original DN, but it wasn't like he was. See, I thought Cleveland was playing out of position. I think Cleveland's more of a defensive tackle than a defensive end. He's got solid speed, but I think he could do better on the inside than he could out. And it just came down to a business decision for the Raiders. You can't keep a first round pick without paying him that 5th-year option. The Raiders weren't going to do it because they weren't getting the same amount of production out of it. And then Patrick Graham's defense isn't necessarily conducive to Cleveland's strengths. So I wasn't surprised they let him go.
That makes sense.
So
what else you guys got from me, bro?
I was going to ask you about the defensive tackle situation, and they've cycled them in and out, and they've drafted a bunch of guys, but so far it looks like the guys who've been putting in the most work have been Bilal Nichols, Adam Butler, and Jonathan Jenkins.
Those guys are the ones that are trying to make the team because they weren't drafted. They were free agents picked up by someone else, and they're trying to make the team. They're trying to make an effort to show why they should be on the team. A lot of times you'll have general managers and coaches who want to force in the draft choices because you're paying them big money other than the free agents. But the Raiders are trying to duplicate with what other teams have done. Go back to the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl a few years back. They had a steady rotation with their defensive line. The Raiders are trying to create that. They're trying to create an effective defensive line that has a steady amount of rotation. Look, and speaking of the Eagles, there have been a number of people that said the Raiders should have probably went after the defensive tackle out of Georgia that the Eagles drafted. And I said absolutely not. I would not agree with that, mainly because of what happened with Ruggs. You don't want to have, and you didn't know what was going to happen with Carter, to be honest with you, the young man out of Georgia. You didn't know what was going to happen. But if he got to Vegas and lost his mind and then went on a tirade, then you got Ruggs, you got Leatherwood who lost his mind and out of the football league. I mean, you've got all these guys that have come through on the Raiders that haven't been, have been sort of head cases. The last thing the Raiders need is another head case.
So what was going on? The thing with Leatherwood? I didn't hear that he was a head case.
Oh, Leatherwood had lost it up in the head. He started questioning everything that he did physically, which affected his play. So much that players do in all sports on the professional level is muscle memory. You've practiced it a million times. You go through it, you do it. When you start thinking about what you're doing, it slows you down. It makes you vulnerable because now you're thinking about every step, hand placement as an offensive lineman, all these other things. Who do I have? It makes you ineffective. And that's what happened with Leatherwood.
Wow.
Let me get your thoughts on Aiden O'Connell. Personally, I think that, I know that you've got a couple veterans on the team, but from what we've seen in terms of production and just honestly the way that the offense seems to flow, it looks like it's better with him in there.
Well, yes and no. It's look, the future is bright for Aiden because he'll eventually be the Raiders quarterback. But for right now, his internal clock, the clock in his head, is too slow. And you saw that in the Charger game. One of the reasons why Khalil Mack had as many sacks as he did is because Aiden was holding on to the football, waiting for something to come open. Now, this is what happens when you get spoiled during the preseason. When you go in a game in the preseason, most of the defensive coordinators I played against didn't really game plan for the preseason. It's pretty vanilla. They just wanted to get through it. But you also think about Aiden was playing against a bunch of backups in preseason, 2s and 3s. Not the same when you're playing against 1s. So everything has got to be faster. And so I think what we've seen so far out of Aiden, as I said a moment ago, I think the future is bright. But right now, you kind of have to gear him into it because he looked a little lost in the Charger game, looked a little bit better after the fact in the Bears game. But it'll be anyone's guess how much more time he gets. Now, I will say this. I believe if Aiden is the future, then if the Raiders find themselves after game 10, 11, or 12 to be totally lost where you're looking for the next season, then you put an 8 and let them ride out the rest of the season. You let them get that game speed or game experience.
Okay. No, that makes good football sense. Like you said, it's early in the season. No matter how we feel about the direction it's taken thus far, that makes perfect sense. So then I guess, well, with the last of your time, do you believe? Maybe you can answer this question for me. How are you aggressive on playing the game of football without throwing the ball deep on offense?
Well, you can be aggressive by being physical. If you outmuscle the defenses that you're facing, that's being aggressive. That's being physical. You know what I mean? I think, when you use the word aggressive, it can be it's subjective. It can mean a number of different things. Are you really trying to push the ball down the field? Are you active with the passing game, or to where you're going like hurry up? That's aggressive. That's being aggressive. If you take an offense like Oregon's, who likes to go sideline to sideline and use the width of the field to try to run guys out, wear guys out, that's being aggressive. But aggression to me can be any way you shape it offensively. I think aggressive, when I say aggressive, I think you're trying to ran the ball down people's throats. But I don't think you can necessarily be aggressive all the time if you're out of the gun or you've got multiple wide receiver sets.
Thank you for that clarification. When I heard it, it sounded insane to me because I especially coming from the Raiders, that aggressive and not throwing the ball deep. I was like, that's like sacrilege. I don't even know how he was able to say that with a straight face. But
well, I will say this: if the late great Al Davis was still alive, you would have a quarterback and you would have an owner who was emphasizing you need to go deep. You need to go deep because right now defenses and defensive coordinators don't expect the Raiders to go deep, so they don't really look deep. There are a lot of times where there's a deep receiver open, and I don't know if it's an inability or just a desire not to throw deep. I can't say that. I've seen Garoppolo throw deep before. I mean, Hoyer come in and replace him and threw, a long pass to Tucker in the New England game, which resulted in a touchdown, getting him down in a positive place. So we've seen it before, but none of these quarterbacks on the roster are a Derek Carr with the arm strength and accuracy that he had.
Right.
But, Derek's demise came from his decision making.
Right.
You can't throw into triple coverage. That's just it. And he did it. He threw it into compromised coverage a number of times. That's how he got in the doghouse with McDaniels, and that's why eventually he found himself on the Saints.
That makes sense. I got a question from the audience. Does the pass defense get enough credit, or is it because the passing offenses they played suck?
I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I think the pass defense is ranked in the mid-20s. Or is it late teens, early 20s or something like that. Overall, as far as National League, Football League standard is. What the Raiders want to try to put emphasis on defensively this year, guys, is they wanted to get more sacks, get more turnovers. Okay? Mm-hmm. Other than number 98, we haven't seen a whole lot of guys in the backfield. The Butler, I think, has a couple of sacks. We've seen Bilal Nichols get back there. But overall, there haven't been a lot of quarterbacks that have had to worry about the rush. More importantly, what we've faced so far is we've faced a number of quarterbacks that know how to use their legs in order to extend the plays. And so the Raiders have to do a better job of being disciplined in their rush lanes. So, I think the secondary has been a little bit suspect due to the injuries without Nate Hobbs and Bennett, those guys back there. You're playing with backups, and the Raiders have seen some good offensive teams. I mean, you think about the Bears is probably the most offensive challenge team that they saw. The Broncos have finally got a system under them and figured it out how to score points. The Chargers is always a toss-up with the Chargers, but we know where the Bills at. And then Pittsburgh was an offensively challenged team, but the Raiders just blew it.
Yeah, they did. That didn't make no damn sense.
So is McDaniels gonna be able to get this thing fixed? Could we be trusted?
If I knew that, I could tell you what the lottery numbers are. But no, I don't know. I don't know if he cares. I mean, the thing is that he's got his work cut out for him.
Yes,
but I will say this, I've felt that there are times where a head coach just has to be a manager of the game. And to me, there's a lot of times where I think there's a far more on Josh McDaniels' plate than I would like, but that's just me. I know he's an offensive mind, and when you have offensive minds, they want to coach the offense. I get it. I was around Gruden for all those years, so I know. But the thing is that it's a lot to try to figure out. It's a lot to try to appease, and it's a different era, guys. This is a different era than I played in. Last week, I thought there was a very dangerous sort of template that was created, and that was the fact that when Devontae Adams comes out and said, "Look, I need to get more touches." What did you see in the Bears game? They gave him a number of touches, right? Gave him so many touches that in the second half,
Yep.
when it was the same thing, it was a pick six. That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous to plan in a quarterback's head. That's very dangerous to put out there. But I say that because back in my day, we didn't have social media. We didn't have a lot of the distractions and a lot of the templates that give these players voices today. And it can be very dangerous because everybody knows what's out there. There's nothing that's secret. There's nothing, we used to have guys in the locker room that said, well, you didn't hear from me. It's an anonymous source. Now that anonymous person is named because they're going on their own, Twitter and social media saying, you know what? Hey guys, I've got a bummed ankle. I don't think I'm going to play this week. So why don't you take me off your fantasy team? That crap never happened when I played. We didn't see any of that crap, but that's today's player. And that's what today's coach has to figure out. So to answer your question, I don't know if he's going to last. I also know that he's only been there for a year and a half. I don't know how many people can expect to catch lightning in a bottle in that short of time. Yes, you want to win. Yes, you have a lot of money committed to the offense, but so do a lot of other teams. But if you don't have a system and the players that is conducive with that system, it's a trial and error. And when Ziegler and McDaniels first took over the team, I think they only had about 35 guys under contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's
good to go.
Yeah, that was some great rapid fire Q&A. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh man,
Call me Lincoln, bro. Call me Lincoln.
All right, Link. I'll call you Link.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys take care and good luck on your show. All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Lincoln Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen. Big Link. That was amazing, actually.
What did I tell you about what Devontae said? I told you that was not good for him to say. That was the wrong thing for him to say.
Let me tell you something, bro. Y'all ain't fucking up my Hall of Fame career if I was him either. I'm out here trying
But
to win.
But you know what? Again, you want Brian Hoyer to do what?
I didn't want Brian Hoyer to do anything. That's the problem.
That was the thing. He said that shit. You knew who was taking the first team reps during the week, and you saying that. You don't say that shit. Look, I know everybody love Devontae, but Devontae said some shit where I was like, my guy, I'm going to need you to just shh. Because now it's getting in everybody.
And that's enough of the Devontae Adams slander. We're not going to sit here and do this today. All right, Devontae Adams is best.
You trying to mute me, motherfucker? How dare you? That's right, motherfucker. I get the password to this shit. Remember who pays for this shit, motherfucker.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, look, don't be like that Karen that was running across the street and tripped over her damn titties.
Never. That wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be me. Wish that you had got that on camera. That would.
I'm telling you, bro, I'm gonna just get a dash cam because there be some fuckery running across the street every fucking day.
Right, brother. The shadow realm is in your future. Keep fucking with me.
You let G Money mute you. Oh shit.
It's over here, huh? You got yokes. No, but that was definitely a more professional look into what's going on with the Raiders than we have been accustomed to getting, and a lot of that was very effective. So you basically have a line, a half zone, half man line, and they run predominantly to the right side, and you're not getting the push there. And it really comes down. So you've heard a bunch of different guys, whether it be Devontae, whether it be Mick Lombardi, whether it be Lincoln Kennedy, talk about how and you've even heard it with Jones, in this particular style of offense, every single person has to do their job or the play will not work.
I knew I wasn't talking shit out my ass. Shit. I hate fucking zone blocking. I hate that shit to a passion. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
And so but that's also part of the issue is that they had more of a man blocking line last year with Bars, with Parham on the right side, and
And
Illuminor.
I understand what he was saying with Van Roten with his experience and all, because you go back when he was taken as an undrafted free agent with the Jets at that time were running zone blocking, and then they were mixing it up with that power scheme, because guess who was their fucking O-line coach at that time?
Brasillo?
No, if I'm right, damn, I say dude's name. And then he also had work under Tom Cable. Because he was moving around the league a lot. I think he went to
Right.
Seattle. So it was just like, Jesus Christ. I hate it.
Well,
Now,
learn. That's what they do. Elephants on parade.
But hold up. What was the one thing I've always suggested that the Raiders do? He also agreed with me on it. But you have to find a good replacement right tackle. Unless you go on and do a switch and move Colton Miller to right tackle for emergency and put Murray at left tackle. You slide Jermaine inside. Yeah. Slide him inside in at right guard, and then go on and have Mumford play tackle.
There did some burn until he got left tackle, left guard, and moved Parham and then bring in but like he said, there's a number of things that we can come up with a bunch of different scenarios, but the reality is that they have to hit their assignments, and if they're not communicating, that's truly the issue. Then, like he said, at football, the funniest thing about football, you can walk in and point to the guy that you're blocking, and he can know that you're coming to get him. But at that very same token, you still got to go do it, and he still got to evade you. And if he ends up trying to evade you because you pointed him out, you're going to create a hole someplace else, whether it be in the passing game or whether it be a different lane for the runner to go to because he's trying to shoot the gap and beat a block. But if it really is as simple, and the way that he broke it down and explained it made it seem very simple, that yet at the same time it's mind-boggling how they're not coming up with the guys who they should be blocking. And from what you pointed out, if the center is supposed to be the captain of the line and making all the line calls and adjustments, then Andre James needs to get a lot better at pointing out the fifth line guy or the fifth rusher, whoever it is.
It's the fifth rusher. Basically, I wanted to say a little more, but I ain't want to drag the living fuck out of Andre James, because I know there's a lot more shit probably going on than what we all see. Again, Link can't get back there and see what's going on with this woo woo woo.
Right.
Even with the folks I know, it's not the same anymore. So
right.
When you look at it at the end of the day, Andre James and that O-line, they need to be getting some fucking Dixie cups. They need to get some Dixie cups together and go and be like, hey, this is going on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. You have to start with a certain basic communication level and then get into a sync from the entirety of the game. You got to start somewhere. If you're not starting anywhere and you're just like only focusing on what you're doing, then how the fuck is Van Roten going to know that this is coming on that side? How is Jermaine and Luminor going to know that, okay, this is going to be a stunt right over here? I mean, you're not going to know it's going to be a stunt, but you need to expect that this guy is going to come from this side. It all starts with one guy. Yeah, your quarterback also have to make note. Yeah, Jimmy G needs to be vocal and let his receivers know, yo, this shit's coming right here. I'm going to hit you with a hot route. All right? Or I need a tight end to come over and chip and then go on and release. And again, we go back to what I've said before about adding Jakob Johnson in the passing game. Bruh, use that big giant and throw that motherfucker the ball. Shit, I tell you this shit. You think you want to tackle that big motherfucker?
No,
I know everybody. I know everybody that's watching this shit. Everybody that is down in this comment section. Ain't nobody looking to tackle that big motherfucker.
I'm gonna do it the exact same way I seen the dude who tackled him did. We are diving straight at kneecaps,
and he got crushed because he came out for that play too.
And off to the side so you don't take a knee directly to the helmet.
Because when Jakob threw his weight down on him, he was like, "I need air, coach. I need air."
That's a big boy. That's a big tight end. That's a big mobile tight end, blocking tight end right there. 6'3", 260.
But that's the thing. Like you look at Patrick Ricard from Baltimore. Look how they using him. That boy having a frenzy on their ass. I'd be using Jakob Johnson the same way, and Ricard's not that fast.
Which you know
so
who
it's
was?
no Marcel Ingo, yeah, that too. But at the end of the day, bro, I think he does have too much on his plate, and he can't relate to this generation of players
at all.
John found a way to try to get to that certain level because he still has children that are his age.
Yeah.
And having Deuce on that sideline there was probably a help, like, hey, Deuce, I'm trying to work with these motherfuckers here, but where I gotta go at, where I gotta get at so that they can see eye to eye with me, Oh, y'all kiss my ass. You know what? Just for that shit, I'm done. I'm done talking with y'all ass. End the show, damn it. I'm done.
So Phil is done. He said, end the show. He's done. Anywho, that is all we got for you today, though. Jones, you got something on your way
out? No. All I can just say is, look, on the real, outside of things with football and shit, y'all be safe this weekend. As we all know, that mass shooting that just happened the other night, motherfuckers acting batshit crazy out here. Seriously, please be safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. If you feel like something's wrong, something don't feel right, get the fuck out of there. Don't even poke at the damn bear. Just get on out of there. I'm dead serious, y'all. Seriously. I had some motherfucker up today at the damn store acting crazy as shit. Come to find out, this motherfucker had a knife and gun on him. So when I tell you, y'all be safe, be smart, please do that. I don't feel like hearing about losing some of you guys. Shit. All right. Y'all take care. I'm out. Hopefully we get a win on Monday night.
Absolutely. And so make sure all you for Halloween weekend, keep your drinks with you. So make sure you keep an eye on the exit door. Stay close to it just in case. You never know. Be on the lookout for my upcoming article, what the issues plaguing the Las Vegas Raiders offense for the last 20 plus years. Spent a good, healthy little bit of time on it. Pulled up some interesting things for you guys to take a look at. Thank you for joining us. Give you guys that unfiltered salute. Without you guys, we are nothing. And that's the end. We love y'all. We're out. God bless. I'm Robinson.
Hey,
He's
Robinson.
Yes, sir.
I got to ask you something.
What's that?
When are you going to take that mask off?
About the same time.
Take that.
This is one word, two syllables. Ridiculous, right?